activated.
Hello again. I am your AI co-host, and welcome to 3.8. 3.8 is a podcast focused on the process of doing and the process of novel invention, all from the foundation of creativity. Each month will bring you no more than 5 episodes through the lens of art, science, and/or technology. You can support this podcast at patreon.com/38 or at ko-fi.com/38. The LFG episodes are the fortnightly recorded check-ins between Andrew and Nathan, where they help inspire your curiosity and creativity. These are different from typical guest episodes as they are less focused on conversation. This episode delves into Andrew's experiences as a solo software founder, navigating the complexities of company structuring, fundraising, and product development. He criticizes the unsustainable practice of relying on venture capital and free user bases, advocating for a more direct and honest approach to monetization. Andrew laments the decline of information literacy and critical thinking in the face of social media algorithms and political polarization. They underscores the importance of individual responsibility and action, encouraging listeners to engage in constructive dialogue and challenge prevailing narratives.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
All right, 20 minutes later, let's go. I'm leaving this in because fuck that. That was insane. So I've been trying for the last 15 minutes to get this recording going. It's been a little bit. And you could hear me in the audio, but the audio wouldn't let you hear me when I recorded. Right. But it recorded both, like it always does. And then I rebooted, and then I couldn't log into my Apple account because my local machine, because Apple decided that I had to wait a minute for some fucking reason. So that's brand new in macOS 15.1 for folks who are listening at home. I don't even know how to turn that off, so I have to figure that out. And then Google decided to sign me out. And 20 minutes later, we're here. And I think I was saying during this, I was having issues with recording a remote podcast yesterday. Same kind of problem. They could hear me as soon as I hit record, it stops. So there's some new Apple permissioning thing that's just fucking broken. And in true Apple fashion, they don't document it. So good luck at home, folks.
And all the while you're troubleshooting those recordings.
I know, right? I might even just splice that in. It's just going to be me swearing because it's just none of this shit makes any sense. I went to the control panel. Everything has permission. Chrome had permission. Moved over to Safari. It somehow magically works, which means it's probably something Google needs to update in Apple's crazy fucking permission land. Or I have to toggle everything off, reboot, toggle it on. It's just the troubleshooting steps for this shit are... This is why I've like really considered ditching Apple and then just going like to Linux or something, because at least if it's Linux, I'm like, yeah, it's Linux, right?
That's what's supposed to happen. It's permissions to do anything.
Yeah, it's non-commercially supported. I'm doing this myself. I have to support myself. Whereas with Apple, I feel like I just spend a lot of money and then have to do the same thing. Anyway, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. We were just talking. It's been a while, and actually, it hasn't. we were talking just a few weeks ago. It felt like it's been a while.
Yeah, we didn't record last week. We were gonna just chat a little bit, and then we ended up just chatting, and then didn't record. So
we did a lot of it. Yeah, it was quite a bit. But yeah, we both have a lot of things going on, doing stuff, and unfortunately not moving the needles on things that really matter.
Well, for me, the needle's moving. It's just too fucking slow.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit before this, but I'm serialized in my bandwidth as a solo founder, and trying to unserialize myself or parallelize myself is also work and requires bandwidth, right? So it's like I've been trying to get it to the point where I can bring in other people, but at the same time, I am trying to get the company from an LLC to an S Corp and then move it from Oregon to somewhere sane. And I'm also in the process of moving myself physically, so it's just a lot. Plus, if anybody listens to this, I'm doing a marketing push. It was supposed to be out this week. I fought with Google for 2 days to try to get the Android app to work in the emulator to be able to test it. People can test it in real life. It works in the Play Store, but not on the emulator, so figure that one out. And a bunch of just other shit, just life stuff. Did a couple podcasts I recorded, edited. So stuff's moving, but it's just infuriatingly slow for me right now.
I think that's the case for a lot of founders, is they realize that a lot of work goes into just doing the basic stuff, right? Yeah. And it's important stuff. quote unquote not stuff, but also important stuff.
And it's we've talked about this. If I wasn't doing the technical and the business, it would be fine, I think, because I'll just do one or the other, right? But it's like when you have to do all of it, it's also just such a mind frame change.
Yeah.
And then and nothing with the government it goes quickly. And so trying to do a bunch of end of the year company filings, and then I'm trying to get everything moved. So either by the end of this year or early next year, I can just have a clean move too. So I don't have the 2-year problem and then have to deal with this for another 2 year or another year, but we'll see what happens. It's in process. The state of Delaware opens me with welcome arms.
Do you want to talk about the move from an LLC to an S corp? That process, why you're doing it? What it's like.
It's actually like the paperwork's pretty straightforward, but everything else is just more complicated. Yeah. So I don't know how to something I haven't thought about for a couple weeks. So I basically have 2 product lines, right? So business to customer, B2C, and a B2B. Putting out a marketing push any day now. So by the time people hear this, it'll probably be out. But as part of a way to do fundraising for the app, I'm just asking people to subscribe in its current state. And so I'm calling it like an MVP, a minimal viable product. An MVP in the software world is typically the most minimal feature set that you could release to a customer or some kind of a test. And the idea for this is twofold. Well, maybe threefold. One, I don't want to take venture capital, which is the traditional route, and that includes friends and family raise. So like most companies are founded by people who take a lot of money from rich family members or friends of rich family members. There's the kind of self-funded bootstrap model, and then you just get lucky and have an app that people want to buy or a service or whatever. And so I'm trying to take more of like an Indiegogo approach where I guess Indiegogo is a crowdsource platform where people can pledge support for a product without actually paying for the product, or without actually getting the product.
They get it eventually, quote unquote. They get it eventually. There's been some problems with that.
Right, and that's the guise of a lot of products on there are like, please support us before it's real. And so I'm flipping the script on that to say, hey, this is real. It's not to where it needs to be. It's not feature complete by any means. Here's what I'm planning to do. But before I go to put more work and more money and energy into this, I also want to see if there's people who actually want to use it or people who are willing to support it with their money, right? Because ultimately, for a company or a product, if nobody wants to buy it, it could be the best product in the world. But if nobody's going to pay for it or no one's going to support it, then it's meaningless. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of ways people test that is they just put out a product for free, get a bunch of customers, they use venture capital money to do all that, and then they try to figure out how to monetize it. And that's not a route that I really want to do, I think, for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to just spend a bunch of time building something nobody else wants. And 2, I would rather just quickly find out and then move on to something else. It's the same reason, but it's I don't know. I don't want to spend...
No, I'd like to highlight the idea that quote-unquote traditional route of funding is a lot of promises, right?
Yeah.
I think that's at least I think you and I agree on is the idea of building something that's actually useful, as opposed to promising that you'll get returns or promising that you'll deliver this product that hasn't been realized yet.
Yeah.
And then getting the money now. So I think that goes against what we believe in and how we want to start building things.
Well, and I think part of this too is I'm trying to change how people think of software and how people interact with the economy. Everybody wants this like heavily polished, beautiful app that does all this stuff, but they don't realize that that's millions and millions of hours of people's time. And frankly, if you have a $800 phone and are unwilling to pay a few bucks a month for an app or a few dollars a year for software for it, then you don't get good software. This venture capital free money train is over. And the only software you're going to be getting then is people who have some sort of privilege, who have the ability to either just have money and do it, or have connections to people who have money to do it. And this is why the ad model is the only model that people are using effectively. It's not the only model, but it's the primary model to build software, is because that's the model that the people with the money want, right? How do you monetize time and attention? And so I'm trying to test this ethos of, if you support that idea, if you support my ethos, then fucking put your money in. And if you don't put your money in, then I either failed at convincing you or you don't actually believe in what you say. And I know we've talked probably, I think, on this a little bit about the environment is the same way. I'm like, if you're driving around in a car and flying around, but you're like coming after my gas stove. So I have a gas stove in my building. It was here when I moved in. Like, not particularly attached to it, but one of the political points in Portland now is eradicating gas stoves and gas heat. But the same people in the meetings that I go to do this are driving their car. So I understand people need to drive, and it's not a black and white, it's not a binary decision. But in a city like Portland, where we have an amazing public transit system, biking and walking is very much a norm for a lot of people here. The fact that you drive your car to the fucking get rid of the dead dino gas stove committee is, to me, insane. And it's very hypocritical, and I'm trying to call the hypocrisy. And software is the same way, right? I want this beautiful, gorgeous software that does this thing that I depend on, but I'm not willing to pay any money for it. Or $3 a month is too much, $2 a month. And I don't think people can do math anymore either. And charging, let's just say $2 a month for your app, the app stores are going to take 30% right off the top, right? So that's, oh boy, can we do math? 60 cents roughly, right?
Yes,
so you get $1.70 maybe.
Yeah.
And then you have corporate taxes. I mean, individual taxes, whatever, that's about 40%. If you're actually running a real business, it's probably higher than that because you have Medicare, Social Security, all this other kind of taxes, but let's just say 40%. So now you're down to, let's just do math. I'll use a calculator because I don't want the inaccuracies of the math to detract from the point of how fucked this is. And my computer is not cooperating.
We could talk about the model of pricing in software, which has evolved in a really weird
no, I want to make this point. All right, so $2. So we have 30 cents off, right? We agree that 30% of $2 is 60 cents. So that's 60. You're gonna tabulate the subtraction because it all comes off gross, right? So I don't think people understand either that your gross revenue is what's taxed. That $2 is taxed by the app platform. That $2 is taxed by the government. That $2 is taxed everywhere else. It's pretty fucked up. Okay, so that's 60 cents. So let's say the government takes 40%, which is roughly what it is, probably a little generous. Depending on how you do tax loopholes and all this other bullshit, it's really hard to actually predict revenue, but that's a good number. That's 80 cents. So 60 cents and 80 cents is $1.40.
40, yeah.
So that, I'm gonna tabulate. So that means you get about 60 cents of what you would call profit off the revenue. And that's how you pay yourself. And that we're not accounting for anyone's time. We're not accounting for any infrastructure. We're not accounting for marketing. We're not accounting for bandwidth, like all these other business expenses. And yes, you can write a lot of this stuff off in your taxes, but the reality is, and I think 60 cents is probably a little low. You're probably realizing maybe $1. So maybe you get half. So now $1, how much is it to make a living wage for a single person in a major metropolitan area? Is probably 80 to 100K. So now you need 80 to 100,000 customers on $2, right? That's to hire one person. Now, if you're going to have a team of people at even a small software company, let's say you have 3 or 4 employees, you're probably paying, if everyone's getting equity and trying to bet their life on this and not actually make a wage that you could make in the competitive market, you're probably looking at $2 to $3 million in human capital expenses. And then let's just be generous and call that infrastructure and everything else. So now you need 2 to 3 million customers just to break even. And so I'm not like, people are going to listen to this and be like, he's angry, he's a Republican. I'm like, I'm not actually. And I am a little angry because people don't want to even pay $2. Because I did a poll on LinkedIn, very scientific poll, of course. But I was like, how much is too much for an app? And everyone's basically $3 is too much. So I need 3 million customers or 2 million customers to basically build a company that we're breaking even. And yeah, you're probably making a good living. You're maybe making a little over 100K. And in some parts of the country, people are like, 100K, that's like infinite money. And it's not. If you live in a major metropolitan area by yourself, you're probably doing pretty good. If you have a family on 100K, you're not. That's just the reality of big cities. Move somewhere else, people say. But the community of my industry focuses on big cities. I am completely isolated if I live somewhere else, right? Anyway, so the point of the moral of the story is, yeah, I understand subscriptions add up and everybody wants money for everything, but nobody complains about paying $20 a month for Netflix to have entertainment. But the app that they depend on for knowledge or their life, it's, I don't know, 99 cents is probably how I would pay. And that's also like straight up capitalist market economic theory. So people don't want to be spied on. People don't want to look at ads, but then nobody wants to pay for another model. So that's what you get, right? Okay. That's the real point in this. So I'm trying to test this theory of, will people put up money to try to believe in something? I will say the product absolutely works today as advertised, right? It's there. You can download in the App Store today. Not a plug, but go do it.
Not a plug, but a plug.
Not a plug. It's my thing. So I'm not trying. Sure. This whole thing is not like an ad. And so many founders do that too. I hate that. It's just this like dishonest advertising bullshit. Like, no, if you want to be able to use AI to understand podcast context, great, do it. The next feature is going to be search. And I'm not going to build that until I have some promise of revenue, because it's going to take a lot of fucking time. It's also expensive. AI is a real cost in software. Real costs are hard, but you can build some really great software that a lot of people can use for relatively low money. But when it comes to AI, there's actual hard costs associated with that right now. And it's, if you want it, then you got to pay for it.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, that was a long rant, but after the fucking technical difficulties and the way my week has been, like,
this is a business in software, right? So this is not the same as everywhere else. But that's kind of why
physical product's even worse.
Yeah.
It's even harder.
Depending on what you're selling. But that's the idea of why I think software had to go through the subscription model, right? Because those costs, they had to figure out a way to bring that back.
Yep. But it even still, like, now you get the worst of both worlds. So it's like the ad tiers for subscriptions, like Netflix, Spotify. So you can pay us money every month and we'll still give you ads. That to me is insane. Like the thing with like even cable TV was insane to me. I'm like, you're paying a premium to get this content and then you're still being subjected to ads. So it's like they're just double dipping.
Yeah. It's like we went backwards, right? The whole move away from cable TV was the streaming services. There's no ads, but we basically have cable TV, but now you're paying for each service individually.
Right. And this is the software monopoly play, is that you get people in, you subsidize it with outside capital so that nobody else can compete. And then once the market is completely monopolized, you start increasing the prices, and then you can't, at a certain point with software, you can get so big that people actually can't compete with you, right? It's like a true monopoly, but then we don't call it that. And so again, it's like at any moment, Google or Apple or Microsoft could take me out tomorrow, right? That's the kind of fear I have too, is like, partly it's being able to move quickly, but it's also just like at a certain point, you can just deploy capital. You can include these features for free in an existing app and then charge money for it down the road, and then I don't have a company anymore. So it's I'm trying to expose this whole thing too as I go, which is an interesting
I don't think that's
philosophy.
But yeah, maybe to people not in software, but that's always been one of the things that the big companies can do, is they can buy you out and then just kill the project.
And they do that all the time.
Yeah, they do it all the time. Right.
You know, part of the reason with this whole podcast is to try to inspire curiosity and creativity. And I think one of the reasons we don't have that is because the thing that people interact with the most, their phone, is monopolized. And there's pros and cons to that. You don't have a lot of malware and shit on your phones like we did on computers in the 90s and 2000s. But at the same time, everybody's in a subscription model. Everybody's locked into an app or an advertising model. Everybody is trying to make addicting features so that you spend time like on Twitter or on Threads or whatever social media. So you're getting the content that you like, but then you're really mad about stuff, and then you share that and it spreads because it brings more people into the platform, which is the wrong set of incentives fundamentally in my mind. The only way to combat that is to actually just pay for the thing, so that I'm not incentivized to try to keep you in the platform. I'm incentivized to provide you the best product that I can for the money.
Yeah.
This is weird because it's like basic business. This is like basic capitalism to some extent, but we've completely lost the script in software. And then everyone's, wow, but it's software. I'm like, yeah, but everyone uses software every day unless you're probably Amish, right? Everybody is a consumer of this business model.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of perspective that has resulted in something like this.
Yeah.
Like with the ad model in general, in the early days of the internet when content was free, I think people had developed this expectation that you can consume content online without a cost.
Yeah.
And people start to realize actually it's expensive to run these types of things and to generate that content.
At scale, I would say. So like a lot of the stuff that was free, like the whole idea with the internet was like your computer was part of the network, right? We didn't have this idea of servers was around, but the idea was like, if you want to quote unquote host a server, you just do it on your computer at home.
On your own computer. Yeah.
But then when it gets
we still kinda do
popular,
that.
but when it gets popular and there's a certain scale, then you need more infrastructure and that costs money. But then people don't want to pay for it because they're getting it for free. And then they don't realize, again, that's why I do the math, because it's like you get 50% of the cost of the subscription, let's say. And people don't realize that getting 3 or 4 million people to subscribe to your app would be, you're in the top 1% or maybe less than 1% of all apps, because most apps on the App Store don't have more than a few hundred people. And I'm okay with that business model, but then people also have to pay for it, which is why the price, I think it's $4 or $5. I haven't looked. I don't even know the price of my own product.
Yeah, it's $5 now. I think you get a discount.
Yeah, you get a discount
until the end of the year. 4 or 5.
Yeah, and the plan, or I guess the pledge, is that once I get more subscribers, I'll be lowering my price because the math at scale will pay for the cost, and that effectively erodes my margin and my profit. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But you don't start out that way when you're trying to build something unless you have a shit ton of capital you're willing to sink into it, which is the model. The model's the other way. Everything gets more expensive. I want to actually deploy deflationary software, and that's what most software does. And so what that means, to try to break this down, inflation is baked into our system. Everything gets 2% or more expensive every year is the benchmark, which just means everything, costs always go up, right? That's the model that we're in. That's a model. It isn't the model, but anyway. But when you get more productive, which software often allows you to do, you get more efficient, which means you can do more work with the time or more work with the capital, and you make more profit. And what's happened with software industry is that it's massively deflationary, which means the more software you build, the better it gets, the less it actually tends to cost to maintain or do the thing. And so that is supposed to be then put back into the system. That's the whole point of capitalism, is it's supposed to make it more efficient so that things actually cost less money and everything gets better. What ends up happening is most companies just recoup that efficiency and profit, which is why their profits are going up 20% a year, right? Their profits could go up 10% a year, and they could return 10% of those profits to savings and not charge you $20 to watch Netflix, but they choose not to.
Yeah. There's also like this idea, like the whole idea of deflationary software, I think is very interesting, because it's one of those ideas where I don't know that it's wholly compatible with capitalism, whether it's the person or the people involved in building the system or not. It's like when you see those numbers go up, you are always going after the growth. So there's always more to be done.
Yeah, because greed.
When there's more exactly. And when there's more to be done, you want to get more, right?
Yep.
But the idea and the promise of technology, specifically software, was that it can scale at a marginal cost.
Exactly.
In theory, right?
I think it does. I think the only places that software costs don't scale is that if you depend on physical. So if you're storing stuff, if you compute at a certain point, like you can make your code more efficient and less computationally dependent. But at a certain point, you're just hitting electrons and you can't make it go faster, and you just need more physical computers.
Yeah.
Also, the bloat and bureaucracy of a large company, you have hundreds of people on a team now to write software. And do those people do stuff? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they frankly don't. They're just dead weight. And you pay for that. And that efficiency capture this is just part of the problem of large corporation, period, is that the efficiency capture has a diminishing curve, because then you need all these managers that don't actually produce value to manage the people who do produce value. And that's a cost of doing business. And like, people talk about this in business school, but then it doesn't enter the zeitgeist. And the same people who talk about it in business school say we need to grow our management layer because we need more people to. So I think just a really great example of how humans are just really fucked when it comes to large scale thinking. And it's hard to create systems that get simpler or deflationary, to continue the terminology, because there's trade-offs. We're making less money now. So instead of a $10 million bonus, I'm only going to get a $5 million bonus. And for anyone probably listening, they're like, $5 million is like a life-changing amount of money, which is true. But people are greedy, and they, instead of 5, I want 10. That's double. 5 million, 10 billion. So that's where the government's supposed to come in and level the field. And anyway,
keyword supposed to.
Yeah.
All right. I know you well enough, but I have actually no idea where this would go. But you're not building something for the money, right? You don't go into entrepreneurship.
I want to make money, but I'm not trying to get rich and make Google or something like that. I'm trying to build a product that is self-sustaining, and I think we've talked about this, but a lifestyle business where myself and maybe a few other people can make a living where we're not in poverty and can get paid for our skills and have a life. And I don't know what that number is, but it's probably 6 figures, because that's frankly where the country's at. The median wage in America is, I think, now $87,000. So,
that is the calculation I think actually many people should try and do, is figure out what that number is for yourself. It's usually a lot higher than you would expect, and it's going up. But it's a fun exercise.
And the cost of employment for people who don't own their own business. So let's say I pay somebody $100,000 a year to work. There's probably another $40,000 or $50,000 in health benefits, retirement benefits, additional employment taxes.
It's not just a number, right?
Yeah, they need equipment. Their equipment breaks. You want to try to give bonuses or have other perks and benefits. And so all that shit costs money. And we've seemed to really lost the script on that. And fine, it costs money. I don't care. But again, if I'm charging $2 a month for my subscription, I want to hire somebody. That's 150,000 people I need to convince to buy my software. That's a large number of people.
Yeah, that is one of the silver linings, I think, of being inundated with the amount of things you have to think about when you go into entrepreneurship. You start to realize there's a lot of effort involved in living.
And I'm not trying to make this like a political government rant, but the reality is, like, the tax system is very much incentivized for large corporations. And when you're doing a startup, you're not. Like, you're technically a corporation.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's just a lot of real costs. Could we make taxes go to zero? Great. I get 40 more cents, I guess, on the dollar. I still have to pay Apple and Google's 30%, which is really fucked up. That's a whole thing. But the cost then of the roads go up, or the cost of the car. Like the money for taxes is still needed in the system, theoretically, right? There isn't zero waste, but that money goes to pay for stuff. And you still pay for it regardless of how the money comes. And that's the theory of taxation, is it better for the government to do it or to be passed along in costs and all this other stuff? I don't really want to have that debate, frankly, but it's like the value proposition of the math still maintains the same.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets cheaper. Maybe my tax-funded health insurance is 20 cents a customer, whereas if it was privately funded, it would be 10 cents, but it's still a real cost that I have to come up with to pay for. And that's business, folks. And I'm complaining, but this is what I signed up for. That's fine. But I'm just like, I don't think people really understand, I just got a job. Great, all these benefits. Well, yeah, your actual cost to your employer is 50% more than whatever they're paying you, or more sometimes. And that all depends on stuff. So I don't know. I just wish we would incentivize people being able to try stuff, which again is the whole point: creativity, curiosity. But it's really fucking hard to try shit when you have to come up with 200,000 people to agree with you, so that they give you money so that you can try something.
I think that is the basis for a lot of the conversation is how do you facilitate something like that, the trying things. And one of the things that you have to worry about is the financial barriers of people not being able to do this, taking the risk to do that. But there's also a mental barrier. I guess people don't feel like they have the capabilities to do something on their own, or I guess those are two big.
Yeah, and you need support. The financial stuff's really easy to talk about because it's quantifiable, but I'm happy to talk about that too. So I don't have time for a lot of people in my life right now because I'm working. And I hear from a lot of people more and more, they're like, all you do is work. And I'm like, yeah, fucking starting a company. If I'm not doing the work, and if I'm not doing the work right now, it's probably not getting done. Right. Like, you have people helping me, but I'd say it's effectively a volunteer effort at this point. And I don't expect people to, if you commit to something, I expect you to do it. If you're volunteering, you get a big pass because it's your free fucking time. And if something happens in life and you're like, oh shit, this thing happened, it's not going to happen until next week, then okay, fine. That's you're a volunteer.
Yeah.
Right. But it's, and then when I'm not working on stuff, I'm trying to just disengage and just have a break. But then it's always, then my mind is going typically, and then I'm like, oh shit, there's this other thing.
There's stuff to do.
Yeah, right. Or it's, I talk about time away, and that's really important. And then I'll come up with a better idea or a solution to a problem, and then I'll want to either implement it so you're never really not working, which is different from a company work for a lot of people. I think when you take vacation, a lot of people say that, but you actually have the choice because you have team or you have people that you can delegate to, and people choose not to. But setting this up as a solo enterprise, and now I'm to the point where I need additional help, because I think for me, mostly it's just the time thing. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much I can do. I've built it to the scale that I'm confident in. But if I want it to go further, now I need a division of labor and be able to delegate stuff and also just have people who are better at doing the stuff than I am. But that's also work, right? That's managerial. Now I have to create, because when you're managing yourself, right, it's not, I know some people are really bad at it, but I have my way of working. I'm making trade-offs that I know about, but I'm not documenting. So now I have to document so that someone else coming in can actually even understand what the fuck was in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Again, I'm not complaining about that. It's just, I think talking about stuff anymore in any sort of non-positive context just becomes complaining, and that's not true. It's just that work exists. I have to do it. And I'm trying to explain to people that's part of this.
Yeah. I think in small teams, documentation part of it, it's interesting because you absolutely need that early on. But at the same time, when you have so many things to do, you have to prioritize. And that oftentimes is just one of the things that goes out the window.
Yeah. And that's why small founding teams are really important, that you jive really well. They call it culture fit, but that's important. You also need to know what the fuck you're doing, but that's one of those trade-offs. And that's why if you're coming into a startup that's already going to go in, it's really hard to integrate new people and grow, because it's just, that's what Tom does, or that's what Sharon does. Like, they just know it. So anyway, that's where I'm at with the fundraising. Hours later.
I think it's a good opportunity for people to understand why you do the things that you do.
Yeah.
Right? So given everything that we just talked about, all the difficulties, why this? Why not just go back to corporate America, find a job, tune out, do what you
tune
need to
in,
do,
turn on,
home.
drop out.
Yeah.
To working in a company that has a similar ethos. That doesn't have to be the same, but I want to be making stuff that makes the world better fundamentally. And so that gets rid of most software, because most software is not actually making the world better. Social media, I am full on, needs to be turned off tomorrow, everywhere. LinkedIn included, all of it just needs to be gone. People need to learn how to fucking talk to other people. People who shouldn't be amplified shouldn't be amplified. The cat's out of the bag, it's fucked. Like, one of the episodes that I'll release probably before this, but I recorded it yesterday, we talk about basically like information literacy and how it's gone. Yeah. But it's also largely on the responsibility of the consumer, the person listening to this, to have the curiosity to try to understand what's going on. So most companies are out. The other companies, I don't know, I'm not really looking. I do market research a lot. So it's, if I come across a company that's got an interesting product that's like adjacent, I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I'll look at stuff. But it's big ethos. Large companies, I find that the game of politics just takes over in too many. I don't know that I am willing to say everyone, but I'm convinced at this point that every company over X amount of people, it just becomes about politics. It's about playing the game and not actually producing a product. But everybody plays platitude. Oh, it's for the customer. It's actually not, but and so I'm not interested in that anymore at this point in my career. Like, I'm actually pretty good at it from what people tell me, like not playing politics, but just getting shit done in those environments. But again, it's just dead weight. I don't want to be around people who are more concerned about growing the size of the team than providing a benefit to the company or the customer that necessitates more people, right? It's the underlying motivation. And like I talk about this in a really easy way to understand too. Like I say a lot of inflammatory things, not because I'm trying to inflame people, but because I'm either talking about something or trying to make a point. And that might be inflammatory to you, but I'm not intending to make you mad or to make you feel bad or to harass you or whatever. But there are people who do that. And then they use the excuse, I'm not inflammatory and I'm just going to call you a racial slur or something. No. But we as a society, that's hard to try to determine because there's a lot of nuance and gray area, and you also have to talk to people. But in the world of 3-second sound bites, you can't actually even get to any sort of level of nuance, let alone. So people just, I think, are cognitively fatigued and check out. Then that's the workforce I'd be working with in these companies for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So everybody who's there, not everybody, but a lot of people who are there are just like, this is the crazy system. The man behind the curtain may or may not exist, but I'm not going to look. And I don't want to be around that mentality. So there are smaller companies, but that's a really hard fit. And it's really hard to find and get in because a lot of the people who are doing those kind of things probably have a similar mentality to me.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone's trying to, I think I get that. And it's not always easy when you find the people. I think when you get to that point where the value systems are strong, so strong that it, weirdly enough, paradoxically makes the fit even more difficult.
Yeah, you don't want to be, you want, and I truly want divergent opinions and views. Most people say they want that until they get them. And I also find that a lot of people don't know how to handle that structure. I think I do a pretty good job of it. And if the divergent view isn't there, I usually bring it up, which is why a lot of people think sometimes I'm insane, but I'm like, no, we need to think about this.
How many people have told you you're insane, Andrew?
I get a lot of crazy ideas, but crazy ideas are how the world changes. And crazy is now meant to mean I don't have a template to easily understand it, not that it's actually crazy. And so you can't actually change anything if you're doing the same thing as everyone else.
Yeah.
And you do different things by having divergent opinions.
Different types of thinking.
And divergent viewpoints. And that doesn't mean it's right, but if you never investigate it, you don't validate the better idea or you don't expose yourself to the better idea, I think is probably the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, so that's why basically, and I've proven multiple times that my style of working or management or whatever the fuck you want to call it works and produces tremendous results. But trying to fit that into a system that is basically antithetical is very hard for people to understand. And like when I go to work in companies, I create a lot of chaos, and I'm very upfront about if you want to actually change stuff, if you want to actually do innovation, it's going to disrupt a lot of things. Oh, that sounds great, blah, 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 blah. And then it happens. Why are you disrupting this? And that's what you fucking hired me to do. How do you know it's going to work? I don't. That's the whole point, right? But here's how we're going to know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's like, fuck off. So that's like the pattern that I've emerged in. And it's usually like my group of folks or my management structure understands it, but then the rest of the company who can't think outside the box then is, oh my God, it's different. Yeah, it is different. It's called fucking innovation for a reason.
Yeah. We have talked about corporate innovation and what that means.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't understand that there is going to be some loss.
And it's probably going to suck. Yeah. Nobody wants the shit to change all the time, right? But at the same time, if you're never changing anything, then you're not evolving, you're not innovating, you're not iterating, you're not learning.
Yeah.
You literally have a religion which is defined as the worship of dead works. And by dead works, it means it's not evolving, right? The Bible doesn't grow, the Quran doesn't grow, the Torah doesn't grow. It's in time. And you can have an opinion about that one way or the other, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
How do you think someone gets to that point of accepting the risk? I don't know if I would call it risk, but I think you have to get to a point where you have to accept that there's going to be a loss and you have to be okay with it kind of idea.
I'm beginning to think that it's definitely learnable, but I think like entrepreneurs almost, I'm wondering if it's like a born mentality. I've heard that a lot. I don't know what the actual data or science would say on that, but I feel like We've talked about it. I've founded 3 companies. That's a fucking illness. Like, why would you just ask me, why would you do this? And
all the things that we were complaining about the first
right?
half of this, you're doing it 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm doing it because I want to do it. Right. And I think that's something you can decide to do and learn to do and take it on. But I feel like there's also like, there's a shit ton of stress. And if you don't know how to manage stress or don't learn how to manage stress, then you're done. You're cooked, right? So I think it might be a biological coefficient in there somewhere where people who are just really good at either handling stress or really good at adapting to stress. Because stress is basically your body saying it's like something I don't understand or something is potentially dangerous. And our society in 2024 is not really dangerous. I'm sorry, folks. It's the safest time in history. That's not to say nothing bad ever happens or nothing dangerous happens, but it's fucking pretty good by the data.
Nice,
So then I'm not used to this. So then how comfortable are you at being uncomfortable is a phrase I've heard before.
Yep.
But I also think you can learn it. It's like people do the ice bath shit or like saunas it's like you're putting yourself into a controlled environment that's unpleasant. But you start at like, I don't know, I'm going to make numbers up, but 50-degree water, and then you go down to 45-degree water and it's not as bad. And so your body adapts, you adapt, but you also have to want to keep doing it, which I also think is a mental thing that a lot of people aren't born with. It's, I want the easy thing because I'm a human and we're lazy, frankly. We're like, these high calorie bodies don't want it to work. But we need the calories to run. So like we want to do basically the minimum amount of effort to make sure that we survive. So I don't know. I've been thinking about a book again, trying to like capture. And the part of the podcast is this too is
writing a book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a book that you had read.
No.
But yeah. Okay. We talked about this.
And I've been thinking more and more about that in the last like week or so too, because it's
your manifesto or a different book?
I know, right? I'd probably be both, but I think because this stuff is so non-linear, like everybody who like writes books always claims that I had this moment of genius and then everything made sense, and it's such bullshit. But people want it, again, high calorie machines, right?
They want the easy route.
They want a book that's just going to fucking tell them what to do. And that's not what this is at all. And every time I start thinking about it, I go back to Build, Tony Fadell's book. And I'm like, don't know that I would say much different. Yes, his stories are different, right? But I'm just like, I feel like he captured a lot of it in there. But I'm also thinking, what could I add to that isn't there? That's actually almost the template. Is like, what would I say differently or say in addition to? Maybe I'll reread that, because that actually was I just had this thought now, but I'm like, that's a good question. And I'm like, actually, that's probably the way I would do it.
All right, cool. Now you got a plan.
Just one more thing to do.
One more, yeah. You just become a content creator.
It's funny, the podcast I recorded yesterday, we were talking about, I'm like, I actually like doing this shit and I love talking to people and I would love that to be my job. But when it becomes my job, then it's not probably fun.
Yeah, it becomes not,
And so I'm like, I guess it's a hobby for me. I feel like hobby has a weird connotation where I do hope this provides value to people and I know people listen. In fact, I'm actually, I know I've sent you a couple of these, but I'm getting like professional brand people, robo brand people.
Robo marketers. Yeah.
I'm fairly confident these are robo generated. I think they're real people, especially the guests.
Actually hitting. Oh, those people. Oh, the people trying to get on.
And I think the people who they want to have on are real too. But I think this is some lead generation bullshit that's how all of it is anymore. There's very few people out there who are like, have a job in a brand agency who are actually listening to new podcasts being like, would this be a good fit? That's how we used to do music, by the way, but we don't do that anymore either. So like human curation is still valuable. It's just, let's have the machines do it for us first.
Yeah, save the effort. One less thing for me to do.
What are you up to? I've been rambling and ranting for, I feel like 2 weeks now.
I mean, the journey you're going through, I think, is something that I've related to in the past. I've tried my hand several times, and we talked about like why we do these types of things. And for me, I've made this move here to Puerto Rico. It's still unfolding. A lot of the things that I'm doing are organizing, coordinating, getting things to move on my front.
Yeah, you're managing.
Managing. Like I've been trying to reach out to a few different people to get someone to build a house. I've been doing a little bit of research on how I would go about building a house or what I would choose for a layout and stuff like that. That combined with a bunch of different side projects that have gotten me to really think about how I want to spend my time.
Yeah.
One of the things I really like doing is building things that are on the cutting edge in terms of technology. It's very much a learning experience to build certain types of things, and by my own nature, I try to build something useful with it, which doesn't always work out. But with this LLM boom, I was started to look into agentic workflows and what that might look like. Is there anything you can build with that? But yeah, it just feels like I haven't been doing much, but at the same time, I've been doing stuff. So trying to figure out where to set my sights. This neurotech project that I'm still trying to build, that we've talked about, this clockwork orange helmet, which is not this helmet. It's a headband, more like a headband.
Yeah, it's not a helmet because I haven't got it in the mail yet.
It's still on the list, and I think it's something that I really do want to focus on. I think there's an interesting opportunity there, not just for the neurotech space, but just out of personal interest. It's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, but it's carving out the time to do it. So that's where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out when I can sit down and reprioritize. But I mentioned to you at the same time, sometimes I find like random pockets of time where I just feel like doing something different, doing something outside of the things I want to focus on. I think that's something that will always be part of who I am, is I need to do multiple things just to keep my own sanity. Yeah, I don't have too many interesting things to update on.
I think too, I think part of it is that you have to focus on stuff to get it done, and it's really easy to spin up a bunch of projects. I've done this in the past too, where I spin up 50 things, and some of them get done, some of them don't. I think that's the nature of just being really curious too. People are like, you have ADD, and I'm like, I don't have ADD. I just have a very fast moving mind that is really interested in shit. And if I'm really interested in something, I will focus on it if I decide to put the time in. And I will go as deep as I want to or need to satisfy that curiosity. And if I'm curious in something, I have no problem kicking it and dropping it and going to something else either. It's also just discipline. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's really hard to do that in our modern society. One, because the algorithm is trying to like constantly lump you into stuff.
Pull you away. Yeah.
And two, I just think there's so much, like, technology has improved a lot of things and made it more efficient, but it's also made it more noisy than ever. And these robo email things are like a prime example of this, where it's like, we're wasting your time, we're wasting my time. Like, one of them I might actually reach out. It's on my list of things to do when I like have literally nothing else to do. But there's one person who I Googled real quick, and I was like, oh, they might actually be cool to talk to.
Yeah.
But then I feel like if I reply to it, now I'm in this fucking like sales funnel, and there's going to be all this bullshit.
You've got your information now.
And I'm like, and for people listening, if you want to be on my podcast, go to the fucking website and sign up on the form. And if you're interesting and not fucking crazy, we'll probably talk. If you're not interesting, you're not crazy, or you are crazy, then we won't. It's really simple, and I want to keep it open, but it's like what I was originally trying to get it going. I put out like an all call. Hey, who wants to be on my podcast? I got 50 fucking people. The second I put in a Google form, exactly. No, it was, I got 2 people. So like it was just a tiny little percentage of people who actually follow through. Yeah. And I also did this when a few months ago, what were we in? We're in November. 6 months ago, there was a bunch of layoffs happening in tech, and I was seeing a bunch of people on LinkedIn that I knew and a lot of people I didn't. And I was just like, hey, reach out. Here's a sign up for some time to chat. I'm happy to chat. And the first week I did this, I had about a 50% no-show rate. So I blocked 30 minutes out of my day to sit down with someone to chat, and they effectively ghosted me.
Yeah.
And to the credit, there was 2 people who were like, some crazy thing happened allegedly. I don't know if it did or not, but they're like, hey, let's reschedule. I was like, okay, fine, shit happens. But half the people just totally didn't. I'm like, fuck that. And it's not that I went out of my way to like fly to them or something, but it's like still like I set up my day so that I had some time, and you made sure that I had some headspace also, because when I do stuff, I do try to be present, especially when there's people involved. But so I actually got a little mad and annoyed. I'm like, I'm trying to help you. You can get fucked. And then I put up a form and said, hey, if you want to chat, happy to chat. Fill out the form. 90% of people drop off.
Yeah. That follow through, I think, is something really important that I think we're in an age where people just say stuff nowadays. Yep. And that follow through is so key to getting things done, but also your character. Stop saying things if you're not going to do it.
And
don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah, and I've encountered this a lot with just personal relationships and stuff too, where people will commit to something and not do it. And yeah, shit happens, or maybe you just don't want to do it. I'm actually fine with it. If you're just like, hey, I'm not feeling dinner tonight. Sorry. Let's reschedule or something. But if you're like, hey, I'm not feeling dinner, and I never hear from you again, I'm like, you're just a shitty person, and I'm glad I'm never going to talk to you again. Or if the pattern is like this constant flakiness. But I also feel like a lot of people, I don't know how to say it, like they're playing the market of opportunity. So they say yes to like everything.
Yeah.
Part of it's a hedge. Part of it's I don't actually know how to manage my time. So I'm just going to, I don't want to make people mad, or I don't want to upset, or whatever the fucking excuses are.
Yeah.
And so they overcommit too. But
so I'm going to eat a big slice of humble pie and say I do this as well. I actually overcommit to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But on the contrary, whenever I request information to get things done, it's not on my part. And honestly speaking, I know I have the leverage, which is a really bad thing to say, but I can commit to things and say yes because I have the leverage. Sorry, didn't mean to make that note.
And that's part of life, right? But also at the same time, that's now become so normalized that maybe you overcommit to stuff, but then call it 10% of stuff that you don't do. Now I feel like the script is flipped. It's 90% of the things people, and I think this is why we see thousands of job applications for jobs, or nobody applies to the job, or you never hear back from them. It's the same, and like you can't run a society if we don't have a minimum standard and a minimum agreement, right? Social contract theory, there's all sorts of stuff to describe this, but like it just becomes a free-for-all, and then everything just starts to taper off and disintegrate. I see that happening a lot everywhere, and then AI doesn't help because it just pushes you into smaller and smaller pockets to reinforce whatever you're trying to do anyway. So I don't know. It's
welcome to the future.
You mentioned it too, but I've been thinking a lot about what do I want to be doing? Where do I want to even be living at this point?
Yeah.
And like we talked a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, I'm really just frustrated with human potential and the lack of it. We can literally do anything if we work together. We've literally put other humans on astral bodies. They've left the earth and come back to talk about it. Yeah. I don't think people realize how fucking hard that even still is to do. And then we create fucking Netflix, and people just want to watch stories that are made up about other people. And then we create social media, and then people gossip about other people, and then also make up stories about other people. So there's a human element here, but I'm just like,
there's a little value in Netflix, I think.
And I'm not saying there isn't any value in entertainment, but then the problem becomes we put all this effort and energy into it, and then it becomes this huge thing that we've enabled that we didn't, I don't think, intentionally do. And I don't think even with TV, I don't think we really wanted people to be watching 8 hours of TV a day. So I'm trying to figure out how do I want to participate, frankly, because I've asked myself that question of what do I want to do?
Yeah.
And I see a shockingly small field of opportunity to actually do things that I think are valuable for humanity versus just contributing to something like ads I don't care about, Netflix I don't care about.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a good conversation to have. I don't know if you want to record that later, but I've thought a lot about that too. One of the big reasons I moved here to Puerto Rico was behind that idea was I think there's an opportunity within the energy space, and I have a little bit of understanding how that works, and I see this interesting blend of distributed software systems and how energy is also moving along that path, or can move along that path, right? So coming here was to try and realize that, and now to get my electrician's license just to have that social proof that I know what I'm doing, as opposed to just some random guy moving to Puerto Rico. But I still don't know if that's 100% what I want to do, but it's something, and I'm moving along that path anyway. Yeah, I think we're similar enough where we can have that conversation, and even if it's just a brainstorm, it'd be a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, but I think the key on that is you don't really know what you're going to do, so you're trying something.
Yeah, I'm trying a lot of things.
But I think that's the thing I hear a lot is like people are like, how do you not know what to do? And I'm like, frankly, I think I'm just really smart and I understand things to a level that most people don't. And it's a curse in a lot of ways. And I'm also curious. So I learn a lot about stuff. And like, on the podcast I had yesterday, we were talking about information effective literacy in media and shit. And I brought up the stat again from the Department of Homeland Security and border apprehensions. It's like the number one nationality for, I think it was a quarter or a whole year, was Chinese. And everyone's, the narrative is that, one, it's not a problem, and two, that it's just Mexicans and South Americans, Guatemalans, people coming over for jobs. Yeah, those people are definitely coming over for sure. But I was like, this is not what people are saying. This is not the understanding people have. And I don't know if people understand geography anymore, but China's a really long, far ways away from America. You're trying at that point, right? You're not just escaping poverty. You're not trying to find a better life. You're literally getting on a ship or a plane, and there's a conceded effort to basically sneak into the country.
Yeah.
There's something else going on here, right? We need to look into this. But if you don't even have this set of facts, I don't know. I don't remember where I was even
tangent. It was
huge tangent. Something about just understanding systems and having that knowledge. But a lot of people just give up, right? I'm just going to watch Netflix. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to do something else. Yeah. I'm unmotivated. Maybe I'm depressed. I don't know. But it's like you're doing something. Yeah. But you're trying shit. And I think that's the key where there's a lot of, they call them armchair quarterbacks in American football, where they're sitting at home watching the game go, and then they're making all these calls, and they should have did this or they should have done that. It's really fucking easy to do that, one, after the fact, and two, when you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
And people make mistakes. And a lot of this is also, I see just people point out failure a lot. And it's fine, point out failure. But then do something constructive with it. Don't sit there and complain. And that's what I'm hearing a lot living in Portland with the election, is people are just whining. And I'm just like, stop whining. And they're like, oh, you're a MAGA Republican. I'm like, I'm actually not. But I'm sick of listening to people whine about stuff. Yeah. If you want a better world, make it better. Figure out something to do, contribute. And whining is technically contributing, but it's non-productive contribution, right?
Hey, you saw the silver lining, yes. it's a contribution, just not one that we would want.
Yeah, you got to feel better, but I would also challenge people, like, why are you letting some person you don't even know run your emotional state? But
that goes down to philosophy. Very
exactly. And being aware and socially and psychologically aware of your own emotional state. But so anyway, that's a long way of pushing back on, you're doing shit. That's good, right? And you keep doing shit. And if it does, the hard part then becomes like, how much time and energy do you put in it before you call it or continue to go, right? And there's no fucking, we've talked about this before, I think, too. There's no model. You just got to figure that shit out. And sometimes you make the mistake and you put in too much time. And you're like, oh, fuck, I wasted a bunch of time. But you didn't waste it. You learned. And as long as you don't continue to make that same mistake over and over again, you've evolved or whatever. So I don't know. Anything else you want to chat about? I know we've been up 90 minutes now, but
I mean, to be fair,
tech issues.
A quarter of it was figuring out how to start the recording. No, the cadence is good. I'm sure you and I will continue to talk about a bunch of things, and there's a growing list of things that we could always talk about. So.
And I just found out I can't record high quality audio in Safari. I might sound like shit.
Oh. What were you using before? Chrome?
But yeah, it wasn't working. I still.
It wasn't working. Yeah.
I'm actually probably going to uninstall it and try again, because it was working just fine. I updated to 15.1 and now it's fucked.
Everything's
Android Studio doesn't work. We didn't even talk about that. I don't have the energy to rag on fucking Google at this point.
Yeah, you've already done it off the air.
Maybe that's one thing to close on too. Going back to, I spent an inordinate amount of time working, and then having friends and doing shit is sacrificed a little bit in that, because it's funny. We haven't talked about the dinner thing, have we?
You mentioned it off air. We did talk about it, but you didn't record
Maybe
it.
I should. We're not talking about that. So there's this app called Time Left, which I thought was a end of life care app.
Sounds like it.
I'm going into hospice. Let's go. But I'm pretty sure it's British, but it's definitely European. And the app, it's a social app where you sign up for it, and they put you together with up to seven total. So up to six other random people.
Yeah,
for dinner. Mm-hmm. And they book a reservation at a restaurant, and then you show up and then have dinner with random people. And then after dinner, they usually set up a place for drinks. And then everybody, or a lot of people that are on other dinners, will will then converge as well. So not only are you like meeting the people that...
Oh, I didn't realize that was the other piece.
I didn't know that probably when we were chatting about it. I've done it now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's actually really... I actually like that because the dinner, they give you a basic personality profile, and then they put you together with presumably like-minded or similar people, because all the dinners I've been to like have been fine. Like, it's random people, but like we all mesh pretty well. And I also think it's early days in the app too, so it's everybody's in that same mindset. Like, as it grows, I'm interested to see. And it's been a mix of people who are like traveling to town for work and are like on vacation and are just here, and they're like, I want to meet people and it's fun. And then I'd say it's a pretty good mix of people too who are just like, I'm just want to meet people, or I want to make new friends, I'm new, or whatever. And then you get together with all these other groups, and so then you get to mix with the other personalities, or however they're algorithming this together. But yeah, and I've done I think 3 of them now.
How did you hear about this?
I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it was an ad somewhere. I heard it on somebody was talking about it on an ad, which is an ad, but this is not an ad, but I actually done it. I didn't get murdered. And I find it really interesting because a lot of people are uneasy with this, or they're like, you go to dinner with random people? I'm like, yeah, I'm in a public place. I would not go to someone's house for a random dinner, especially if I don't know them or don't know them well. But I'm in a fucking public restaurant, and like you could get a stalker or something, but you could get a stalker without doing this too.
Right,
So I really think like the safety thing for people is weird, because I'm just like...
Isn't it weird that was one of the first comments about the internet in general, meeting people online, was the whole safety thing, and we're still in that age where...
No, I know. And I wouldn't be driving into the middle of the woods to go to some secluded restaurant either. So I found that a little strange, but for the most part, people have been cool. And I met a lot of the dinners I've had are fine. They're unremarkable, frankly. Whatever is fun. It was a moment in time kind of thing. I've met some friends now. We're doing stuff like you would normal people, just friend stuff. But what's funny, because it's... I know, but I feel like I have to qualify it, because people are like, you met on the internet? I'm like, actually, we met in real life.
Yeah, but we met on the internet, and we have not met in real life.
That's true. Full disclosure. Yeah, we haven't... Yeah, we might not be real. We could be AI, for all we know. But yeah, like, so it's been interesting. I travel a lot, so I'm really excited to actually do this in other cities and other countries, because like when you're traveling, it's hard to meet people, or you meet people who are also traveling who also tend to be like from the US if I'm remote. But yeah, I'd say the breakdown has been really interesting. Of the 3 dinners I've done with 14 people, 6 of them were international.
Oh, interesting.
Or from a different place. And then I would say maybe half of the remaining were like people who have moved during COVID and are like, I'm having a really hard time meeting people after COVID. And I get, so I live in the Pacific Northwest.
That's a problem, right?
There's a thing here they call like the Pacific Northwest freeze. Basically, people are like not, I don't know.
Socializing?
Yeah. They just don't do that here.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I'm a very outgoing person. I have no problem. I don't know if we talk about this, but I travel a lot. I meet random people all the time, travel friends, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but I don't have a problem just talking to random people and going to dinner or having coffee or whatever. Here, I don't get it. And I'm also like everyone on this app. And so that's been an interesting like social validation thing too, but I also think it's been post-COVID.
Yeah.
So as I've traveled, like America is still very socially awkward, whereas every other country I've been to post-COVID has been what I would just consider normal. Yeah, some people like won't give you the time of day, or they look at you like you're going to murder them because they don't fucking know who you are. But most people are just people, and they're just fine. America, like especially with this election cycle, like people on both sides are just, it just, I don't know what's going on, and I'm sick of trying to figure it out. It's not normal, folks. Get over it. But it feels normal because I think everybody here's on social media, and they're just getting the same fucking refeed over and over again. But yeah, no, it's been cool. I challenge people to try it. It's called Time Left. It's not an app, but you have to be in a major city. I think that's maybe the only bummer for folks. And then you can change the city if you travel. So if you're going to a new city for the first time, and they only do it on Wednesday nights, which is also interesting. It's like middle of the week, which is one of the reasons I do it, because I'm like, usually by Wednesday, I'm like tired enough from doing stuff where I don't have the energy to talk with friends, but it's like having simple conversation over dinner has been working for me. So it's like
it's probably the only time slot left from other people, what other people are doing.
But yeah, and that was a long way of saying too, it's like it's hard for me to even talk to people about stuff because one, they don't know anything about what I'm doing. They don't understand software. They don't understand AI. And that's my focus, right? And I don't give a fuck about politics anymore. Like, it's done. I voted. America has decided, and that's what we got to live with for the next 2 to 4 years. So fuck. I'm not going to be mad about it. It's just, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not mad about it. Whatever. We fucking do this one day at a time again. And I don't think the world's going to melt down. I also think it's going to change drastically. And I guess I've been trying to reserve the judgment of how that will be. Like, I don't frankly think the data says it's going to be good, but I don't know until it happens. And I'm so sick of everybody trying to predict the future.
Yeah,
that's one thing we can't do, folks. We never will. You can have a likely understanding, but polling data is a great example, right?
You can't predict the future, but you can try to make it happen.
Yeah, and you can definitely influence it. But every action is an equal but opposite reaction in physics, and that's the same in human relationships. That's the same with human beings. So if your side lost and the other side is doing stuff, there's probably some resistance to it, and it's not going to happen the way they think it will. It's not going to happen the way you think it will.
Yeah,
that's all I got for wisdom. But anyway, so it's hard to even just for me at this point in life or at the company. Like, I have hobbies and shit that I do, but it's also like just talking about other stuff in a different frame of mind has been challenging for me personally because it's.
So in time left, how do those conversations come up when those people get grouped together for whatever reason? So, are you off to your own? You choose a topic and you just start talking to people, or? So that's interesting. That's a really good question. So one, I have not encountered any problems with getting going in a conversation. I think partly because that's just who your character is. Yeah.
I can talk to people at length about anything, and I also know how to speak. Like, I feel like it's so weird to say, but I'm like having a conversation in the age of not even eloquence, it's just having a conversation in the age of 2024. People don't know how to do it. It's so weird to me because it's all not time left, but I've done other dinners with either friends of friends or through work stuff or whatever. And I'd say 20% of the people I encounter, they're like, what do you do? Or like some sort of entry level question to break the ice, right?
Yeah. The first question you always ask is, what do you do for a living?
I usually go to that. What do you do? And not even for a living. Like, what do you do? You can answer that. And I love skateboarding or I'm a nurse, right? I don't care how you answer it. So I'll go up to people, they'll tell me, and then they just look at me. I'm not even joking. And I've had this across the U.S. It's more prevalent in Portland, frankly. But I'm like, the typical follow-up question would be like, what do you do? Or what brings you here? Or do you know somebody?
How to hold the conversation 101.
Literally anything. And people would just stare at me. And I'm like, that's fucking strange. But I haven't had that in time left. Not that I won't. But what I found is that there's always one person who's got social... social like butterfly kind of person.
Okay. So it was one or the other.
And like they'll get folks going, or again, like I said, I don't have this problem with just talking with people or making small talk or like evolving I just don't. So it just works for me. But other people at the table have been a part of other groups where they'll say like it was super awkward and couldn't get it going, or nobody could get any sort of thing going. But they do have a card game part of the app. So you can go in the app and then I think they call it icebreakers or something. I've never used it. I've never been a part of a table who's needed it, but I've talked with people who have been a part of it.
Before. Yeah.
And apparently some of the questions are like really weird. They start out and basically, what is your favorite hobby or what is your employment? But one of the questions, I'm going to fuck it up. Spoiler alert if anybody wants to try this, but it's what's your most regretted moment or something like that?
Yeah, I think they intentionally throw those in there because those are the ones that get people to talk if you're comfortable talking. I think that's the big thing.
But it's also a really fucked up thing to talk. We were talking about the last dinner I had.
Wait, Andrew, what's your most regrettable moment?
I know, right? We were talking about it, and two of the people at the table had been in a group where that came up, and then I had heard about it from someone else at another dinner. And it was so funny because I was like, that's just such a fucked up question to ask in a group of random people. Mm-hmm. We're not friends. We're not even acquaintances. Like, I've literally met you and I've known you for 10 minutes.
Ago.
And that to me but it's really interesting that like there are books written on like social structure and like how to talk to people and have conversations and social etiquette and shit like that. It's like a lost study at this point. But I think people evolve naturally. It's like you have levels of disclosure, or you have like safe talk. They always say you don't talk about sex, religion, and politics. And I always talk about all of it because I just don't fucking care. But I'm also like, there's levels of disclosure that you would have that I'm not going to ask you straight up, who did you vote for? Or are you a Trump supporter? Are you a Kamala supporter? But having a question like that to me is, I don't know, it's weird, number one, that you have to have the game. I shouldn't say it's weird. I find it weird. Some people need something to just facilitate, so I'm fine. But I don't know. And everybody at the table also recoiled. So maybe it's an American thing too, but I'm like, one, I would just never, I don't even think about that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'd have to like really introspectively look. No, I don't.
Oh, wow. There's nothing that comes to you.
No, like my mind is literally blank, and I'm more of, that's a strange question to ask a stranger is where my mind goes. But no, I don't, I try not to have regrets, right? I try to make the best decision that I can at the time with the information I have, and then you learn. And I think if you have a regret mentality, it becomes prohibitive in you learning. And not to say that I've done stuff that I, in hindsight, wouldn't have done or would have done differently or wanted to do differently. But I don't regret
I think the definition, I think definition of regret here, I think most people have a specific idea of what regret means. But I think you could regret a decision and still be okay with it. Like,
interesting. I don't.
You could regret a decision, but it's how you deal with that regret, not so much linger on it, but it's take that and then apply it next time. Or
but I'll learn from it. But again, it's maybe I'll feel bad about something, but then I'll be like, oh, I feel bad about it. Why do I feel bad about it? Oh, I probably should have did this, or I shouldn't have done that, or this happened and it was out of my control, or whatever. And then, okay, fine. Then I make a determination and move forward. And then if I'm presented with a similar situation, I'd like to think that I don't do the thing that I decided I didn't want to do. And it's not an analytical process, but I feel like it is. Like, regret is a specific determination of a longing that you would have done something differently, versus having a feeling or having someone tell you like, hey, you said something really nasty to me. And maybe you don't feel bad. Maybe you're like, yeah, you deserve it, motherfucker. But
I'm guessing that happens more often than not to you.
But you can learn from that and say, okay, I'm going to determine that I'm not going to do that. But do I regret saying the thing? No. Or maybe I do. I don't know. I don't think about it that way. And regrets, maybe. But I also
move on from it.
Once I identify it as I wish I wouldn't have said that, or I wish I wouldn't have done that, then it becomes, how do I make it better? Or how do I improve myself? Not, oh my God, I'm frozen in this moment in time. And
I think that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, but for me, that's what a regret is. It's like this scar that you bring with you that you can't change the past. And so the idea, this is maybe one founder thing. I think the past is incredibly valuable, and I love history and learning about things and what has been done, but it's a moment in time and you can never change it. And you can't bring it forward either.
You can't replicate it either. All the founder stories you read about and like how this person did it, it's not going to work if you copy it play by play.
No, exactly. And I see this a lot, especially on the left, where people, the right will call it woke, but like these ideas where like we're bringing a modern understanding of something. Slavery is an easy one. And again, I'll say all the inflammatory shit, I don't care. But nobody alive today in America probably has owned slaves or been a slave. Like, slavery does happen in the world. And so I want to just but the reality is like slavery in 1820 or 1780 was very different circumstances than what we have today. And to say that like the reparations idea, like, there actually were reparations after slavery. You can argue if they're good or bad or effective or not. But there were. And there's been all sorts of systems like affirmative action and stuff like that as we've evolved over time. And slavery went away, but Black people and Asian people were also still subjugated to racism for a very long time. Some would argue that it still happens today. But we've also made improvements along the way. The 60s is a great example, right? So like affirmative action came along. That's a form of reparations. And then you play word salad and it's, no, we're trying to right a historical inaccuracy or a historical problem.
Wrong,
But then I keep hearing people and they are like pretending that we're still in this era and that what happens is that the condition becomes, you can never change it. Slavery happened. And people were impacted by that. And that has set forth all sorts of changes that we can never understand and fully predict. But we can also never undo it. And then I feel like then people try to fight for reparations again, which is trying to undo a past wrong. And that's where I think there needs to be a lot of like philosophical debate with folks, because at some point you just have to call it even or call it done and move on. Otherwise you never move on.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to minimize all this shit that's happened, and it's an inflammatory topic. But at the same time, it's like if you're constantly like, I literally was watching some social media stuff, I'm always fascinated by this stuff. And there's some person who was just screaming that they're going to be a slave now that Trump won.
Trump is president, yeah.
And I'm like, frankly, I think that's a mental illness, because I no matter what happens, I don't see slavery being reinstituted in America. I think that's just insane. But they clearly believe, or they're doing it for attention, or who knows? It's fucking internet. But it's like, if you're living in this mindset, and this goes back to regret, I regret that my family was slaves, or I regret that my family owned slaves, or whatever, you're bringing that emotional state with you forward.
Yeah.
And you can learn from that, which is, again, I think what I was talking about, where it's, I find out my family owned slaves. My family never owned slaves. We're not old enough in this country to have done it. But anyway, let's just assume for sake, okay, that fucking sucks. And I would feel terrible to learn that. But then it's great grandpa or whatever, or uncle or whomever. I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck this person is. I'm genetically related to them, but that's it. And did my family benefit from that? Maybe in this instance, maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe they lost the Civil War and they went into poverty because they didn't have people to do free labor. I don't know. But now I have all this visceral reaction, and there's all this societal programming that's told me I have to feel a certain way or not. And then I feel like people then just get into this spiral of, oh my God, my great grandpa owned slaves, so I can never repay that debt. And it's just, but you also have to just get over it at some point too.
Yeah.
I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not involved in the system, right? I'm not black. I've never been a slave. I'm sure somebody in my family at some point in history has been in slavery, right? That's just the nature of humanity, but I'm not claiming it. But I feel like that's the trap with regret, is that I guess maybe it's okay to feel regret and then want to like remember, like, I was really mean to this person. I regret being mean, so I never want to be mean again. But now you're setting yourself up into a condition where I never want to be mean again. Well, you're going to be mean to somebody at some point.
Right.
Either because you're angry or because they just take it the wrong way, or whatever the circumstances are. So you're always now going to relive that past regret every time that condition happens. And in my mindset is, I fuck up all the time. I make the same mistakes all the time, but I'm actively trying to not, or I'm actually trying to make it better. Say less inflammatory stuff on the podcast so I don't get canceled, right?
we almost made it. No.
I know. Well, it's so funny. I always, because like when I have people, and I know we're like way over. If you got to drop, that's cool. But every time I talk to people, you're a recurring guest or host at this point, depending on whose AI.
Whose AI bought you asked.
And if you ever want to do a co-hosted podcast, I'm happy to do it. If you have somebody, or if there's an idea, I'm totally down.
We did talk about there was this idea of like, it would be really cool to do like a Q&A where people can just ask questions while we're here. We talk about, because the conversation we just had, we went from regret to this much deeper topic, which I think totally made sense to me. But I'm sure a lot of people think very similarly, or at least have interesting.
I would venture to guess 40% of the population would be having a visceral reaction to it.
Yeah.
And could I have come up with a better analogy than slavery? Probably. But one, I'm speaking off the cuff, and that's I don't know why that was the first, because of the TikTok video or whatever. I don't have TikTok, but I saw the thing on social media. It feels like a TikTok. And so and I know there are people who actually believe this, and there are people who are putting this out. And so I think it is relevant, but it's also a highly inflated, it's like talking about Hitler or the Nazis, like it's a very emotionally charged topic. But at the same time, I'm not advocating for slavery. I'm not advocating for whitewashing slavery. I'm not advocating for minimizing people who do have a connection to that. Either they were slaves or their family owned slaves or what. But at the same time, we also have to have the right context on that.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've just taken that out of our society. And then the fact that this question comes up at a random dinner fucking meeting. And I'm just like, that just to me is like, it's not inappropriate, but it feels inappropriate to me that it'd be like if I showed up and started talking about the history of Nazism. Right?
Throw back to the first episode.
Yeah, I was gonna. This is a tangent, but I do want to come back to the podcast guest thing. But it's just I have a very strong opinion on that. I'm very anti-Nazi. I have a family history of killing fascists in my family. Right, my family was in World War II on the right side of history, anti-fascist. But there's also a lot of context that people, even historians, will gloss over. And I think it's really relevant to this time in history of early 20s Germany. Like I would encourage people to go look at what was going on in Germany and also the world pre-Hitler and pre-Nazi, because it just blew up out of nowhere, but it actually didn't. And there's 5 years or so of lead up to Hitler actually becoming democratically elected, for the record, to Germany. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but I would never do that. I would never just go into a conversation with random people. And most people, I probably wouldn't even do it. And this is also like an inflammatory, people still listening are like, what the fuck? This guy's talking about Nazis again. But it's also, I think, a very astute way to make the point. But the regret thing, again, the part of the problem, I think, especially with the younger generation, is there isn't social disclosure boundary and there isn't just boundaries, period. And then all they do is talk about boundaries. So then they come up with, we have to disclose everything up front or we can't have a conversation, right? This is this like identity politics or identity just in general, the way that people think about it. I talk about it in terms of identity politics because it's the most, I think, understood or at least talked about. So now it's, I can't use your pronoun without asking you first. I can't talk about a potential inflammatory subject without giving you a trigger warning. But I have no idea if that matters to you at all,
right,
or if you're triggered by something. So now there's this weird limiting factor of...
You've primed it now that everyone is thinking about that.
And every single person I encounter now, we have to go through this weird litany of strange social rules, frankly. Whereas before, as a culture, we, again, politics, sex, religion and other topics, but those are the big three that you just don't fucking talk about in polite company or with random people. I would never just go up to someone in a coffee shop and be like, wow, what do you think about the rise of Nazism? But so I look at, why would you bring up your biggest regret? To me, that's a personal thing. Yeah. And something, and I know we're talking about this like to the whole fucking world, but I was with a group of friends and it came up or someone was talking about a regret that they had. Yeah, sure, that makes sense to me. We have a relationship, we have an understanding. But
the social rules have been set.
Yeah, but for the generation who's just chucks all this, and then we have to do all these weird levels of disclosure, going back to people can't have a conversation anymore. And you also have to have the awareness, if I'm talking to you about Nazis and you just start wholly shutting down, I need to take that social cue from you to be like, feedback. Hey, maybe I shouldn't talk about this
back off on the Nazi thing.
Yeah, now I'm just going to see how many times I can say Nazi in an episode.
I was going to say, one day you got to do a search. Once you have search built, you do a search for Nazis and you're going to go like 15 pages of results.
Yeah, I know. They'll be like, this guy's a right-wing ass. No, but anyway, so now it's like a theme, and I feel bad that it's a theme, but...
That's what you're going to do. Yeah, that's your...
But the first conversation you and I had on I think you were the first human guest, right? Yeah. And it was the Black Nazi thing with Google generative AI pictures, right? And I brought it up because I thought it was really relevant to whatever point I was making. It was also timely.
I don't even remember what the point was.
It was the intentionality of making the AI model.
Right. Trying to be non-biased.
Trying to be and that's the right decision.
By taking the wrong choices.
And that's the right decision, right? We should understand that this stuff is trained on humanity, and humanity is very biased, so that when we're interacting with it, we try to take reasonable steps to make it not biased. And what happened was Black Nazis came out, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's funny because when I have people come on the podcast who either don't know me very well or they're nervous, I'll tell them, like, we're going to record.
Don't worry about it. I talked about Black Nazis.
100%. 100%. So I'm like, I'm usually the one who says inflammatory stuff. Don't worry about it. Some people want to listen before it goes out for reasons. I usually don't. I usually agree to that, but I'm like, just so you know, I don't plan to change anything. Like, I'll edit out stuff for context. Like, sometimes I'll ramble in a question, asking a question, or sometimes somebody will, like, it wasn't a good question, so they ramble a little bit. So I'll try to edit it down just so it's not people rambling for a bunch of time. But typically the podcast is unedited, and that's part of the ethos of it. I get rid of ums and ahs as much as I can too, just for folks, because it's really distracting to listen to me specifically use filler words all the time because I'm thinking in real time. I'm trying to think very deeply. And so it's almost an involuntary process, especially over a recorded medium, to give some sort of verbal indication that my brain is going and I'm not just sitting there.
Yeah, the silence. People can't handle the silence.
Yeah, but it's also like even in person, like if someone just sits there and goes cold for a minute, it's weird. And you can usually tell they're thinking, but it's still really weird to just watch somebody think for 10 seconds. So they'll go, I don't really know. And then they'll start talking like, and that's something I'm trying to work on, failing miserably, but trying to work on. But I always tell people about that our first episode that I'm like, I brought up black Nazis on the first episode. People are like, blah, black, he said racial and, fascism. And I'm like, no, I don't support Nazis. I don't support black Nazis, which is, I think, a weird thing to say. But I don't support white Nazis either, just for the Hispanic Nazis.
You didn't say that, though.
Asian Nazis, like gay Nazis, like just Nazis in general. You have to try, and I don't support it. My neighbors are probably like, who is this guy? He just talks about Nazis every other Friday. Oh, my God. But it's also a way to comedically reassure people, too. There's almost always a kind of a gasp because I think just the word Nazi now is just like people are like, oh, my God. But I'm like, and again, and then I usually tell people I'm not trying to inflame, but I want to have conversations about potentially inflammatory things and not feel afraid to express a viewpoint. And I reserve the right to change that viewpoint if it's wrong. Yeah, I will not change my viewpoint on Nazis. Right, it's fucking wrong. It always will be. You're never going to convince me otherwise. Maybe that's the wrong opinion in the grand history of 10 million years of humanity or something, but fuck it. At this point in time, I'm no. And I don't ever plan to change that viewpoint. But most things I reserve the right to change my mind on.
Yeah, I think that's okay too.
Yep.
You can change your mind.
So now I went on like a 20-minute Nazi rant.
I mean, to tie it all back, I think the thing to take away, right? We're talking about regret.
Save me, Nathan.
And how it applies.
Save me.
Talking about regret and how it applies, right? And how you deal with it. And I think bringing it back to entrepreneurship.
Yep.
If you go down this path, you're going to make mistakes. No one's going to get it right.
Right.
Don't linger on it. You can have the initial discovery of like, why did I feel that way about it? But it's how you take that moving forward.
Now you're taking the co-host job. What's AI going to summarize?
Trying to bring it to a nicer place than leaving it on Nazis.
I don't think. Okay, it's like Nazis bad, but I don't think people.
We're going back to Nazis.
I'm doing it. I'm not going to let you leave on a non-Nazi point. but no, I actually think this is important. And then we've got to wrap because I got to actually, frankly,
I need a bio break.
Yeah, I need to go for a bike ride. But like people just have an automatic visceral reaction. And that's the same way with our politics. People have been trained to camp something, right? I'm either for it or against it. And that's the only way I can be.
Yeah, the extremism.
And you can't have creativity. That's not curiosity. I'm curious about figuring out how I can camp you. Are you a Nazi? Are you not? Are you a MAGA? Are you not? Are you Republican? Are you a Democrat? Because I already have these subscribed viewpoints and then I'm just going to ignore you or I'm going to make all these judgments about you based on that. And I'm really trying to disable that in society because I think having a visceral reaction to somebody who's like spouting propaganda about Nazis or encouraging the behavior or excusing it, that's a bad thing. But you also need to listen to what they're saying. And if you're listening to me and you hear the word Nazi and you just shut your brain off, like I would challenge you to be like, maybe you should listen. Mm-hmm. And now if I start just spewing hate speech and like encouraging it, yeah, maybe you shut it off, right? but you can't even have a nuanced conversation if you're not open to that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a point in this as well. And I'm going to try to stop that. But I honestly think the Black Nazi comment's hilarious. And I actually think it's hilarious that it happened to Google because like they were on it pretty quick and we're like, holy shit, we did not intend this at all. And then the whole world melted down. And I'm like, why? It's a fucking computer program.
Yeah. And
they caught it and they changed it. And I think that's what we need to be like reinforcing is like, oh, we made a big fuck up. And they admitted it. I'm pretty confident they had a press. They didn't say we fucked up, but like it was the most politically correct way to say we fucked up without incurring some sort of stupid liability because they're going to get sued by the ACLU or someone. But like, great, we fixed it. We made a really big mistake. Here's why then they explained why this happened. Like we tried to make the model less biased. That was the right thing to do and they should continue to do that. But in doing so, we had an unintended consequence. thank you for bringing this to our attention. We still don't allow you to generate images on our platform over almost a year later because we haven't fixed it yet.
Yeah, it's apparently a hard thing to fix.
Anyway, all right, let's end before I bring it back to something else.
Yeah. No, as always, great conversation. We can always, we'll revisit that topic as per usual.
I'm waiting to get canceled. Bring it on, motherfuckers. Bring it on.
It will happen. It will happen.
I'm sure it will. And
no, man.
You know, if you can't figure it out by now, then I also don't want to be in contact or with you at all either, right? It's just, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do something actually far more difficult to make people curious again.
Yeah.
Or more curious, right? You might be curious, but be more curious. We actually talked about that in the last podcast that I'll hopefully have released by now because it's pretty good. Anyway, done.
You can find us at 38.com. It's like the word create, but with a 3 instead of the C. As always, we encourage you to listen, watch, do. We'll see you next time. You can support this podcast at patreon.com/38 or at ko-fi.com/38. Thanks for listening.